So your audience, when we were talking, you surprised me. I thought it would be the same as mine. You said it's majority women who watch your videos. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Mine
Yeah.
is majority men, 80-20. And that
Yeah.
distinction that you drew, I wonder if that is a gender distinction, which is it seems like women are more interested in what is going on in the internal world of other people. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What's happening? Men don't carry that same interest. They want to know what works. What's going to get people to like me? I don't need to know what they're thinking. I just want to know what to do so that I get the result that I'm looking for.
So Charlie, think about it this way. Think about the conversation that's being had when women hang out together and men. And again, I don't like to generalize based on gender, but think of that stereotypical conversation that's happening in a gathering of women and a gathering of men. With women, it's very much about who said what and who behaved what way. And, did you see, something was wrong with, there's something going on with that couple. And, did you guys notice that, she was being a little dismissive or he was doing this or, to talk about current events and be like, something's going on. Analytic. They're very good at empathizing. And in a moment, we could talk about why that is. There's an actual physical reason as to wwhy that is. But think about men when we get together and we brag about, going to the bar last weekend. It's like, I went to this girl and I said this and then I said that. And then, so it's what I said. It's what I did. It's kind of that thumping our chest, bragging about, how effective we are at communication. So there's actual research that shows that when women say a man has a good sense of humor, they mean that he tells funny jokes or that he's funny in his behavior. Mm-hmm. When men say that women have a good sense of humor, they mean that she laughs at his jokes.
Did you know that? Yep. I mean, I had never read that research, but as soon as you started the second half of that sentence, I know exactly what me and my friends mean, which is, she's so fun. Yeah, she laughs at what I say.
She has a great sense of humor. She laughs at what I say. Whereas women mean it as he says funny things.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. Like, what a great, I think that explains the distinction between our channels.
That is a fascinating thing to break down. And it's also like, I think of, there's been times in my relationship with my girlfriend where she'll be like, that person treated me in X way. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, they walked in, they said hi, there was a smile. It's like the most obtuse description of what friendliness looks like. And it's only been recently that I've realized that she is right and I am wrong, that she actually has a much better intuitive picker of how people are feeling on the inside. And mine is much more gross. Like, did they do the big overt gestures? And it, in going to your channel I was like, oh man, I'm going to give this to her so she can communicate with me what I'm not seeing because the subtlety, I couldn't have described it. Amber Heard was a bit obvious, but like a fake frown versus a real frown, like not being able to detect the difference between a fake smile and a real smile or a fake frown and a real frown because they are subtly different muscles that are being activated. And my guess is that women are picking up on those very subtle things, but often, as many people do, lack the language to describe it as. And so when my girlfriend comes to me and says that person wasn't nice to me, I go, well, they did all of the big gestures that look nice, and she's detecting these micro expressions that are indicating that something is inauthentic.
So there's a reason for that, and it's in the brain, but it's the matter we speak the least of. Because when we talk about the brain, we talk about gray matter. Nobody really talks about white matter, and so there's the white matter connects. It's the connective tissue between the two hemispheres. It's called the corpus callosum.
Oh, yeah.
And women's corpus callosum is much thicker than men's. What that means basically is that the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of women's brains communicates a lot more successfully and rapidly. So men often are in zones. And we see this in aspects of our lives as well. Like when we're with our friends, we're not thinking about work. When we're at work, we're not thinking about our girlfriend. When we're with our girlfriend, we're not really thinking about, we're very good at sort of compartmentalizing that type of thing. Whereas women are very good at multitasking. Like when they're at work, they're also thinking of what they got this weekend and the kids at daycare and they're thinking about you. And there's an author, Barbara DeAngelis, and she describes this in such a lovely way. She says, men have these pizzas where every slice is one thing. Like there's a slice of mushroom, there's a slice of pepperoni, there's a slice of, whereas women have this pizza and the toppings are all over the pizza. Like they just, it's such a capacity to multitask. And that's because of the corpus callosum, but that also lends to the reason that they're intuitive, because conventional wisdom tells us that one side of the brain is logic and one's creativity. And it's not that simple. It's not necessarily that simple to where like left is this and right is that. However, there are areas of the brain that do different things. And when that corpus callosum is as developed as it is for women, they can go back and forth between all those things very rapidly. So intuition is not just logic, it's not just emotion, it's accessing both at the same time. Yeah. So that's exactly the reason they're better at it, because we're looking at it either entirely emotionally or entirely logically. We have a hard time getting the both to communicate. They have an easier time doing that.
I like thinking about intuition because this does match. I feel like as I'm getting older, I am becoming more intuitive, and it really is as I become more in tune with my emotions, because it is these detecting of the subtle, like, that made the hair on my arm raise up. And when I was younger, I was like, who cares? Steamroll, full steam ahead. As I become more in touch with those emotions and compare them with a logical understanding and analysis of what's happening, I find that I have deeper intuitions about what people are experiencing, what they're thinking, why they spoke in that particular way. And also that, this is I think that stereotypical male thing, like, my range of emotions that people had were like, they were happy, sad, angry, or frustrated, like there's not many, but to detect that there are shades of these things, that person was like happy, but also something was bothering them, and that there was inauthenticity in the way that they played up that happiness. To be able to detect those nuances is something that I've only really started to develop reflexively as I've, become more emotional and felt those sorts of things in my life. So just very cool to see how these are tied to leaks that are coming through in people's behavior and interface.
And for me, it's unbelievable when people say like, body language is a pseudoscience, body language is fake. First of all, when we spend that much time trying to figure out if this is a science, we're losing the main point. A lot of people argue that psychology as a whole is a pseudoscience because you can't repeat things in a lab. Like Pavlov found certain things. If I did Pavlov's experiment now again, or Milgram, or any of the big psychology studies we talk about, I might get slightly different results, because it's not chemistry where you will always get the same results. Psychology is a very delicate thing, but it doesn't mean that the results are invalid. And to me, to deny body language is to deny what makes us human. We had nonverbal communication for so much longer than we had verbal communication. We communicated without words for so long. Like if you look at the entire span of humans, we've had language for like this. Before that, it was all nonverbal. We would signal things with our eyebrows. We evolved for our eyebrows to be more mobile than primates because we use them a lot to communicate certain things. Emojis. Why do emojis work? Nobody sees an emoji of like this and misunderstands, oh, you're so happy. Nobody misunderstands that. There's something fundamental that we understand about body language. That's why Ekman's research worked. That's why in isolated tribes, people knew what fear looks like, what surprise looks like, because it's deeply ingrained in our experience as human beings. And there's evolutionary reasons why it's there. For example, let's talk about surprise, right? When we're surprised, something hits you and you're surprised, what happens? Things open up. Eyes open up, mouth opens up. Everything opens up. Why? Do you know why?
Or I imagine the opening to let in as much information as possible would be my guess.
Exactly. So the moment we're surprised, we don't know what's happening. That's what surprise is. Something's happening, we don't know what it is. So we open everything up to take in as much information as we can. The mouth opens up to more oxygen intake in case we need to react. So big breath. With anger, it's the nostrils because we might need to react. But the eyes open up, and there's actual research that shows, is out of the University of Toronto, Daniel Lee, I believe. Yes, I'm confident on this one. Whose research showed that when your eyes are open, you take in more information from the peripherals. And he measured how much more information you take. So in surprise, we open up and mouth opens up and we take in more information. Now, surprise lasts very short. It typically turns into something else. So I walk into my surprise party. First it's surprise, then I realize what's happening. It turns into happiness. But if it's a threat, it turns into fear, anger, something else. Now with anger, the eyes are still open because I'm trying to still focus, try to get that information in, but the eyebrows have come down now in more of a protective position. And the mouth is now closed because an open mouth is vulnerable. So, which is often why after surprise, we block our mouth because that's a vulnerable thing. So all these things have evolutionary reasons why they're there. And that's why inherently we recognize them.